Och så träffar vi en legendar i pokersammanhang, Mr. John Duthie, som var en mannen som faktiskt startade hela European Poker Tour en gång i tiden. Han är också nu ett känt ansikte på de stora TV-pokerturneringarna. Hello John, how is things?
Very good, how are you?
I'm very well. Could you tell us a little bit about the history behind the European Poker Tour?
Generally the history, we're in our sixth season. I originally set the tour up, it's about 5 years ago now. There were a few tournaments in Europe, but they needed coordinating and we needed more of them. So I created the EPT.
So how is your feelings about this stop in London so far, 2009 version of the European Poker Tour? Are you happy with it, the number of participants and everything?
I'm very happy with it because we saw a very small number of players playing in the WSOPE, and I was a little bit concerned that this might be reflected in ours, but it's completely the opposite. I think that people have come here in droves, and it looks like we may get over 600 and maybe even up to 700 players, depending on how many we get tomorrow. But today we've had like 320 players on day 1A, so I'm really pleased with the turnout for all the events so far, and we still got 4 or 5 days to go.
This tour is like an ambassador tour across Europe promoting poker. What's your feelings about the poker climate generally in Europe right now?
I think it's still very vibrant in Europe. I think that there are various countries where poker is obviously just catching on. I think you can look at the Ukraine, you can look at Russia, you can look at a lot of Kazakhstan even. I think in Kiev we had quite a few players from Kazakhstan, Greece, Turkey. Poker's growing and growing in Europe, and it's interesting because whereas in America it captured the whole nation within a very short period of time, it's spreading out a little bit more slowly in Europe, and so that's good for us because it means that our growth is positive every year from one year to the next, but we're not growing so fast that it could be it may just suddenly freeze. We're just gradually growing wherever we go, which is great.
If you would pick one country in Europe that you would rate the most interesting coming poker country, could you give us an example of that?
Sorry, the most interesting what?
The coming poker country in Europe.
Okay, I think that probably in terms of growth, I think that I particularly like Russia. I think that there will be a lot of potential in Russia as soon as we can get back in there. I think, obviously the casinos have closed there, but there are so many interesting poker players coming out of Russia, and I think that young poker players from Russia really want to be able to play in major events with it in their own country, and I'm longing for when we can actually hold an event in Moscow or St. Petersburg. We may not be able to hold them there, but it may be one of the new created casino towns, as it were, which Putin wants to do. I think that's going to be interesting. I think a lot of the sort of Ukraine is very, very interesting. Portugal as well, I find fascinating. I think the growth there is going to be good over the next 2 or 3 years. You see, the thing is about Scandinavian countries, they've kind of had. I'm not saying they've had the poker bug, but I think there's probably limited growth left in Scandinavia. But there's a lot more growth available elsewhere. Greece, Turkey, all over Europe.
To finish off, what would you say is the future for the European Poker Tour? What's the next step in your development?
Well, I think we need to focus carefully on constantly trying to improve the product that we're providing to the players, because after all, players are being very loyal to us, following us around wherever we go. If there's an event which isn't working for whatever reason, we need to be looking at that. We need to be looking carefully at why that isn't working, and either trying to fix it or replacing it with another event somewhere else. We have the scope to be able to go. There are a lot of choices that we have now. We can go almost wherever we want. I don't want to have 20 events. I think it's far better to have like sort of 12 or 13 events a year. If you go rather than getting greedy and try and have more and more, I'd rather have 12 or 13 very, very top quality events, well attended, rather than 18 purely because we want to try to make as much money as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you very much, John, for this interview, and hope to see you next time we come to the European Poker Tour stop.
Thank you very much. Thank you.